Good evening. Good evening, everybody. I am Dr. Monimala Misro. Welcome all of you in this August occasion. Today's distinguished guest speaker is a renowned former principal of GIS College of Engineering, Dr. Shibotosh Bagchi. Namaskar, sir. I
Namaskar.
want to tell something about him. He has got an illustrious academic career from very childhood. His life journey started with banking sector, but later he shifted himself to his passion for academic career. He was the dean of the student in Jadavpur University, and after many years later he joined GIS group of college as principal, which is known as Baruipur Polytechnic Engineering College. After that, he joined Ramakrishna Mission Institute of Culture, Golpark, where he is associated presently. In addition to that, we have come to know that in his school days, he ranked in higher secondary board examination, which is a remarkable thing. He also joined Presidency College and completed his graduation from there in chemistry. He started his career from that college, obviously, and all along his career, he earned a bright academic career with remarkable marks in chemistry and in all the subjects, obviously. He has done or he is doing the extraordinary good job in Center for Indological Studies, Golpark RMIC. Apart from that, we have come to know that he came in contact with many respected Sadhu Maharajis of Ramakrishna order, which is an exceptional thing. His written book is The Story of Ramakrishna Mission Abroad, which is really a research work based on thoughtful and remarkable remarks. He is a regular writer in Bulletin of RMIC. So today we want to hear and we want to learn something from him. Dr. Shibotosh Bagchi, please, you can start.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. At first, I convey my great regards to Dr. Modak and Dr. Gargi De for giving me an opportunity to speak from this august platform. My subject today is the life story of William Hastie, the celebrated introducer. Most of you will be knowing the name of Dr. William Hastie, who was the principal of Scottish Church College. I will at first speak about him and then something about the Ramakrishna movement and Swami Vivekananda. It was sometime in the it was sometime in the last quarter of 1881 when Narendranath, future Swami Vivekananda, a student of the second year of the first arts FA classes in the General Assembly's institution, now Scottish Church College, was attending the literature class. The principal of the college, Professor William Hastie, took over the class in the absence of the regular teacher. It was said that the regular professor failed to expound William Wordsworth's poetry to the students and commented disparagingly on their lack of intelligence in the presence of Hastie, who then himself took a class where he taught the famous poem Excursion, written by Wordsworth in 1814. In this connection, it is important to remember, before going into further details, how Narendranath took admission in this college. Narendranath, a very brilliant student from the beginning, initially was admitted in the first year arts class of Presidency College, Calcutta in January 1880. At that time, this college was undoubtedly the best one in the undivided Bengal. You know that British government founded three presidency colleges, one in Calcutta, one in Madras, and one in Bombay at that time. Three important presidencies of India. So he took admission in the first year arts class of Presidency College in January 18. At that time, this college was he was just then 17 years old and regularly attended the college for 1 year. But unfortunately, in the second year, he had an attack of malarial attack, and his class attendance was short of the required stipulated one. At that time, they were very particular about class attendance. Nowadays, people are not concerned, but even in our time in Presidency College, in the physics department, the teachers used to mark attendance and all that, and, and that was counted in the uh, final result. Hence, he was not allowed to appear in the FA examination. But another college at that time, that is the General Assembly's institution, Scottish Church College, accepted him and agreed to send him for the final examination. Otherwise, it is a very critical thing for him. He was not allowed in the Presidency College due to shortfall in attendance. Now, coming to the main subject of discussion, we find that while explaining the above-mentioned poem, The Excursion, in the class, Professor Hastie referred to the rare state of trance. In Bengali we call it samadhi, of which the poet had a glimpse. Wordsworth had a glimpse while contemplating the wonderful beauties of nature. It is a very interesting thing that Wordsworth had a glimpse of that trance state by seeing the nature. When some students could not understand the meaning of trance, and asked Professor Hastie, "What do you mean by trance?" Professor Hastie then explained further and said, what he said? He said that such an experience is the result of purity of mind and concentration on some particular object, and it is rare indeed, particularly in these states. Hastie further said that I have seen only one person who has experienced that blessed state of mind, and he is Ramakrishna Paramahamsa of Dakshineshwar. You can understand if you go there and see for yourself. A very remarkable thing. Professor Hastie, being a foreigner, he came here and he understood the meaning of trance, and he heard also about Ramakrishna's trance. It remained an unknown fact whether Professor Hastie himself saw Sri Ramakrishna's state of trance personally at Dakshineshwar or heard the story from someone else. It is not known whether he saw Ramakrishna personally. In that case, who was that fortunate person? We don't know who took him to Dakshineshwar. But the most remarkable fallout of this statement was that Narendranath first heard of the spiritual experience of his future guru from this source. Narendranath first heard of his future guru, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, from this source and not through the Brahmo Samaj. Some people used to say at that time that Narendranath was a member of the General Brahmo Samaj. There are three Brahmo Samaj at that time, Adi Brahmo Samaj, General Brahmo Samaj, and Keshav Seth Brahmo Samaj. So not through the Brahmo Samaj, as some people said afterwards, of which he was an ordinary member. Narendranath was a member of the Brahmo Samaj, and at that time, most of the young boys, young Bengals, were members of the Brahmo movement. Narendranath's friends and acquaintances respected him for his aristocratic and elegant bearing. At that young age, his self-confidence was phenomenal and attracted the attention of many college professors. About Narendranath, Principal Hastie once said prophetically, Professor Hastie was very much attracted by Narendranath's personality, his intelligence, and etc. He said, I have traveled far and wide. This has been recorded in a book, but I have never yet come across a lad of Narendra's talents and possibilities. He is bound to make his mark in life. At that time, his prophetic remark, he said like that Narendra will be a genius in future. So, before entering into the life of William Hastie, it will be wise to have a short discussion regarding the status of introduction of English education in Calcutta in the 19th century. Calcutta was the capital of India at that time. The first college to start in this city was Presidency College, which was founded in 1817. It is, I think you can hear me here, okay, no?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir. It's clear.
It is probably the oldest institution in this country formed without any religious connection. You see, other colleges, Scottish Church of St. Xavier's, which were found at that time, had religious connection. I mean, Christian missionaries. Srirampur College, a very famous college, that was also that they had religious connection, but it was Presidency College, which had no religious connection. It is probably the foundation of Scottish Church College, the first overseas missionary college of the Church of Scotland in India, initially known as the General Assembly's Institution. That was called at that time General Assembly's Institution. Still, that board is there inside Scottish Church College. Was done on 13 July 1830. The history of this institution is closely associated with the life and activity of Dr. Alexander Duff. You must have heard of the name of Duff, who did a lot. He was DD, Doctor of Divinity. He actually was born in 1866 to 1878, who established this college to promote English education at first as the General Assembly School. Gradually, for higher education, a college was also established at a different place, which in course of time flourished into the present institution. William Hastie, about this gentleman we are discussing, he was a great man, no doubt, those days, was born on 7th July 1842 at one Lockhead, Dumfriesshire of Scotland, where his father was a manager of lead mines. He was the third son and fourth child in the family of four sons and three daughters of James Hastie by his wife Catherine Kell. After education in the local school of the village, he taught in the neighborhood and had private studies for some time. Then he entered Edinburgh University 1859 and excelled himself both in the arts and divinity courses, graduating MA with first class honors in philosophy in 1867 and BD, that course was there at that time in England, Bachelor of Divinity. Bachelor of Divinity because these missionaries they used to send abroad, so Bachelor of Divinity course was a must. Bachelor of Divinity in 1869. He further enriched his theological knowledge, Hastie, by attending the classes of Dr. John Caird, learned professor of divinity at the University of Glasgow in 1870 and 1871. He wanted to be a missionary, and the people sent him to India. Now, being a licentiate of the Church of Scotland, he served for a couple of years as an itinerant student in several continental universities in Germany, Holland, and Switzerland. This church sent him to Germany, Holland, and Switzerland to preach Christianity, to preach and spread Christianity. And he learning foreign languages and expanding his theological knowledge base. Further, during his available free time at home, he took work as a university deputy, as an assistant to parish ministers, among them Patron James Globe, in the Scotland there actually. In 1878, Hastie was directly appointed from there the principal of Church of Scotland College at Calcutta, where he showed his excellence and statesmanship for the next 6 years as an academic organizer, committed missionary, and also as a prolific writer. He was actually so many qualities were there in him. He was an academic organizer, a committed missionary, that is the most important for the missionaries, and also a prolific writer. In 1881, he published the first part of his book, The Elements of Philosophy, his first book, The Elements of Philosophy. And in 1882, he wrote an enlarged version of the book, Theologist Christy Lieb's Protestant Missions to the Heathen. These two works are still considered to be knowledgeable documents. As an ideal teacher, he was very famous for his rapport with an overflowing love for his students. That is, he was very famous. His room in the college was always open, and students used to come and take books from there. A very ideal situation. He was a bachelor and lived an austere life. Narendranath expressed his fondness for Hastie, saying, Professor Hastie lived on nothing and regarded his room as his boy's home as much as his home. Towards the end of his stay in India, he used to say, "Yes, my boy, you are right, you are right. It is true that all is God." As Swami Vivekananda, at that time, Narendranath, he used to say, everything is God, Brahman, everything is God. And toward the end of his stay in India, he used to say to Narendranath, "Yes, my boy, you are right, you are right. It is true that all is God. I am proud of him." Another interesting piece of information states that when at Chicago in 1893, Swamiji delivered his famous Chicago lecture, one John Lyon joked with Swami Vivekananda about his slight Irish accent. Swamiji said it was probably because his favorite professor was an Irish gentleman, graduate of Trinity College, Dublin. In 1882, William Hastie, who was a critic of idolatry, wrote a series of 6 lectures in the Statesman of Calcutta. Another very interesting thing, generally those people were against Murti Puja, idolatry, wrote a series of 6 letters in the Statesman of Calcutta. The paper is still there, in which he criticized the Hindu custom of image worship. Image worship. The reprint of the letters was published in the next year, actually in the book form, Hindu Idolatry and English Enlightenment, and gave huge offense to the educated people of Bengal. Those letters in the Statesman offended the people. Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, the celebrated Bengali literature, wrote under a pseudonym at length and replied that in spite of their knowledge of Sanskrit and the Vedas, no European scholar adequately understands the fundamental doctrines of the Hindu religion. Bankim Chatterjee had the great courage to write, to protest against this thing, and he wrote in the, he replied, Foreign Mission Committee, on the strength of the complaints of the disciplinary committee of the college, decided to relieve him as Hastie wrote against idolatry. And there was a protest here from Bankim Chandra, and even some people say even Rabindranath Tagore also later protested against this. So the Foreign Mission Committee, on the strength of the complaints of the disciplinary committee of the college, decided to relieve him of the post of principal, and actually it was a punishment for him. And Hastie's appeal to the General Assembly at Edinburgh in May 1884 was rejected by 193 to 90 votes. He was debarred from ecclesiastical office, and Hastie decided to keep him busy in translation work. That was the only one mistake, to criticize other religion. He criticized our Indian philosophy, Vedanta particularly, and Sri Ramakrishna's philosophy, Jato Mat Tato Path. We accept everything. But William Hastie did that great mistake. He criticized idolatry. How through idolatry man can reach highest level. Actually, it was shown by Sri Ramakrishna. Swamiji's famous story is there in Khetri. You know that I won't tell you now. There was another long and bitter feud between him and Miss Mary Henrietta Piggott. Actually, Hastie himself involved himself in several litigations. And this Miss Henrietta Piggott, the head of the Female Missionary Mission of Calcutta, both of them being actively connected with the Church of Scotland, they had long and bitter feud. Why? It was mentioned here that Miss Piggott, this Miss Piggott is very famous. If you remember, if you have read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, Kathamrita, I see Mahendranath Gupta, you will find this Piggott had the opportunity of seeing Sri Ramakrishna in Samadhi, in this trance state, while participating in a boat trip to Dakshineshwar on 23rd February 1882, along with Keshav Chandra Sen and Joseph Cook. In the Kathamrita it is given, this Piggott, Miss Piggott saw Sri Ramakrishna in Samadhi state, trance state. Piggott complained. This Piggott also again complained that when Hastie came to India in 1878, he made an attempt from the beginning to gain control of the female missionary mission by placing her in a lower ranking position. So we find there are several allegations against Hastie because of his impatient state of mind. He should not have criticized other religion. She further accused Hastie and others that they had charged her mischievously on mismanagement of the school, immoral conduct, and cruelty to children. She said that these charges had damaged her reputation and deprived her livelihood. This legal feud, the Pigott versus Hastie case, it became a very famous case in Calcutta High Court, began on August 31st, 1883. While the original, this was a very famous case at that time in Calcutta. While the original judge gave verdict in favor of Hastie, the appellate bench of the Calcutta High Court found Hastie of malicious libel, as Hastie failed to pay Mary Pigott's damages and permitted costs. He had to spend nearly 1 month in the presidency jail. It's very surprising that Hastie was put in the presidency jail. He was jailed from Calcutta in the February of 1985. Finally, the authorities permitted Hastie to leave the jail when he paid a fine of £300 those days, which he saved with great difficulty for his mother by living a frugal life. Hastie unfortunately saved £300, which he had to pay as fine for this um, comment. There were several protest meetings in Calcutta by people who thought that Hastie had received unjust treatment. Hastie, in the meantime, took a wise decision and returned to Scotland, one Lockheed, where he was forgiven by the church. Later, he became famous as a scholar of eminence by translating and editing 17 books from German to English language. He also translated works on law, theology, and philosophy from Italian and French into English. Hastie's principal translations are The Philosophy of Art, translation, Hastie's principal, and Bernard Panja's History of Christian Philosophy of Religion from the Reformation to Kant, with a preface by Professor Flint, etc. History of German Theology. Basically, he was a theologist. History of Christian Ethics. He translated all these things. And also Immanuel Kant's Cosmogony, with an elaborate introduction. He also translated one difficult work of Rumi. Rumi was a great Sufi mystic. Portions of two of Hastie's translations of Immanuel Kant's writings are selected later to be an integral part of University of Chicago's Great Books of the Western World in one second. His first English translation of Immanuel Kant's Universal Natural History and Theory of Heaven was praised profusely by leading academic communities. He himself described the work as the most wonderful and enduring product of Kant's genius. After going back to his native place, he taught courses in law at Edinburgh University and translated a tough two-volume jurisprudence manuscript from Italian. He also had active interest in different topics like scientific cosmology, ethics, Christian missions, mysticism, politics, and poetry. For his scholarly achievements, he received the honorary degree of Doctor of Divinity from Edinburgh University in April 1894, and in 1895 he became Professor of Divinity at Glasgow University, which post he held till his demise. In 1892, Hastie was selected to deliver the prestigious Scroll Lectures in the University of Edinburgh. His course of philosophical lectures on the theology of the Reformed Church in its fundamental principles, published posthumously at Edinburgh, proved to be a very valuable academic asset. In addition to his Scroll Lectures, he contributed to scholarly dogmatic theology. Basically, he was a theologian. Theology as science, his present position and prospects in the Reformed Church, which was very useful, compact, and philosophic surveyor argument. Hastie, a born intuitionist, who believed that certain truths or ethical principles were known by intuition rather than reason, used to consider the divine immanence as a fundamental principle, and that way a protagonist of non-dualism, Advaitavad. Actually, Hastie was a great mystic. That is very important. In Indian tradition, or Vedanta and our philosophies, finally, they lead to mysticism. Mysticism is a great part of Indian philosophy. So Hastie was a non-dualist that way, as attributed him. He also had full faith in divine will. During the peak of his academic career, He died suddenly in August 1903 at the age of 61. When this news reached India, it was solemn mourning by his admirers from different walks of life. He was interred in his hometown. He was actually buried there, unlocked in the family burial ground. Hastie's Catholicity and spiritual bent of mind may be gauged from the fact that he not only knew about Sri Ramakrishna in ecstatic trance, but also attributed to its to his Ramakrishna's pure mind and deep concentration on a particular object. Hastie was the first man, I should say, who could understand Sri Ramakrishna's trance and Sri Ramakrishna's deep spiritual attainment. Taking Hastie's advice only, Narendranath made Sri Ramakrishna soon, for the first time, at the residence of Surendranath Mitra in November 1881. William Hastie was the noble introducer to familiarize Sri Ramakrishna to Narendranath, apparently by a providential design. It is actually a providential design, we should say. So now you know what happened afterwards. I will, after Hastie, I will say something about the practical Vedanta, which was preached by Narendranath by the instruction of Sri Ramakrishna. After the passing away of Sri Ramakrishna, Vivekananda traveled all over India, seeing by his own eyes the real life situation and gathered direct experience of the condition of the common people of this country. Casteism, conservatism, superstitions in the name of religion, exploitation of the downtrodden by the rich, abject poverty of the masses. Everything was observed by him very minutely. After he took sannyas, he traveled all over India to see India. In Kanyakumari, he went up to Kanyakumari. He traveled by, he walked actually. Sometimes he used to go by the railways, but he traveled to see the condition because he had to preach. He was brought by Sri Ramakrishna for preaching. So he traveled. He also met several princely rulers and apprised them the real problems of India and advised how they could participate in the ameliorating process. Narendranath was the first man who tried to influence the princely rulers like ruler of Khetri, ruler of Ramnad, and several other rulers, just to spend their money, not for enjoyment, but for the poor people of the country. So finally, he thought of combining the real problems of India with the abstract philosophical thoughts of religious doctrines of Vedanta for betterment of the living condition of the masses. That was actually what is called practical Vedanta. He observed that spiritually was the very lifeblood of India, and her regeneration had to be worked up on a spiritual basis. That was the great thing of Swami Vivekananda. Religion is part and parcel of India, from north to south, east to west, everywhere. Religion is there, and it will never die. Though the materialists have tried to kill religion, but they have failed miserably. Underlying all diversities of sects, castes, doctrines, rites, customs, etc., there is a spiritual unity in Indian life, which his extraordinary genius clearly saw. He found there was a spiritual unity. Oh, that is very interesting. Finally, this was the first time in India someone tried to implement human elevation through Vedanta's noble principles. Vedanta was there, abstract form, but he tried to apply it. That is called practical Vedanta. He said repeatedly that this noble but abstract Vedanta had to be brought to the grassroots level. Swamiji was born at a critical time when people of the sleeping India needed him most to be inspired by the ideals of universal love and through its service of man. Doridra Narayan, Swamiji coined this term, Narayan Doridra Narayan, a term coined by him as a service of God, irrespective of caste, creed, and religion, by getting rid of blind faith and superstitions, hatred and stupor. His practical Vedanta is undoubtedly a new and authentic commentary, like the traditional Vedantic culture and commentaries of Acharya Shankar, Ramanuj, Madhva, Nimbark, Vallabh and others. They had their own commentaries, but Swamiji described this new process as Boner Vedanta ke ghare ana. Vedanta was a great subject, but it was never applied to day-to-day life. Swamiji actually, Swamiji heard from Sri Ramakrishna that Shibok Jiva Seva, a new term, a real innovative term. Brother disciples of Swamiji used to say that a new Shastra was created when Swamiji said all these things. Another statement of Sri Ramakrishna made sometime in 1884, more or less of similar nature. Of course, I'm digressing from Hastie to Vedanta, Swami Vivekananda and all that, but it's very interesting. So of similar nature, inspired Narendranath so much that he told his spiritual brothers he had got a new life, a new light in life, try to put it into practice if conditions became favorable to him in future. The statement was that, oh, no, why compassion? Sri Ramakrishna said one day, oh, no, why compassion? Who are you to be compassionate? Not compassion to living beings, but service to them in the spirit of worshipping God. Not compassion to the jiva, but serving the jiva as Shiva, Shiva Gyane Jiva Shiva. It is a great thing actually, the great philosophy. Never in the world it has been this great philosophy of Vedanta, which is 3,000-4,000 old, has been interpreted this way. Romarola, as you know, the Nobel laureate of 1914, in his biography of Swami Vivekananda, the name of the book is The Life of Vivekananda, the Universal Gospel, the study of mysticism and action in living India, has given in 2 sentences the quintessence of practical Vedanta of Vivekananda. Romarola very nicely has given the essence of practical Vedanta. What? One is the divinity of man. Divinity of man. Man or woman, everything is divine in nature. His nature is divine. Mind is impure. And when mind becomes pure, we feel and we find that we are divine in nature. And 2, the essential spirituality of life. Life is basically spiritual actually. And the immediate consequences deduced from them are, this is Romarola wrote, I've taken from Rola's biography of Swami Vivekananda, that deduced from them that every society, every state, every religion ought to be based on the recognition of this all-powerful presence latent in man. It is there, latent in man, woman, you, in me, in you, in everybody. What is that? That man is divine in nature. But mind is impure, so we are not in a position to understand that. Tremendous spirituality is there, the divinity of man. Swamiji gave in 4 sutras. And second, that in order to be fruitful, all human interests ought to be guided and controlled according to the ultimate idea of spirituality of life. Spirituality of life is the final thing, not politics, not anything. So Swamiji at that time, Swamiji knew about Congress and all those things that are freedom movement. Swamiji never participated. Swamiji said, at first you'll have to make man. Man should be, where is man? Everything he used to say. Every time he used to say, where is man? Man should be trained at first in the light of Vedanta. Man should be trained in the light of Vedanta, then only we can do all these things. So this Ramakrishna movement is basically based on this Ramakrishna Math and Ramakrishna mission and Swamiji's basic idea of Shibok Gyane Jiva Seva. That so every sentence, please note that every word and every sentence Rola has chosen in his formulation, and that there are magnificent observations to elevate our human mind to a higher plane, and this can be the real spiritual foundation of human unity. In every step, in every action, we must think that we are divine, and so also you are. I would narrate an incident how human elevation has been possible through the ideal of service of God in man, preached by Vivekananda so earnestly. There is a beautiful story I'm telling how this action of the Ramakrishna order started actually. Shibok Gyane Jiva Seva. Charu Chandra Das, a second-year student of Ripon College, Calcutta, was attracted by reading Swamiji's poem Shakhar Prati. I don't know whether you have read it, Swamiji's great poem Shakhar Prati, translated into English to a friend. It is found in volume 4 of Complete Works. ব্রহ্ম হতে কীট পরমাণু সর্বভূতে সেই প্রেমময় মন প্রাণ শরীর অর্পণ কর সখে সবার পায় বহুরূপে সন্মুখে তোমার ছাড়ি কোথা খুঁজিত ঈশ্বর জীবে প্রেম করে যেই জন সেই জন সেবিছে ঈশ্বর. So this Charu Chandra Das, a second year student of Ripon College, was attracted by reading this poem in the monthly journal Udbodhan received by him at Benares. He was practicing austerities. He was practicing following the broad principles of Vedanta along with some of his friends. The last 4 lines, what I said just now, became he was so much inspired. The 4 lines had profound effect on his mind, and it changed his life totally. Next day, on 13th June 1900, Charu Chandra and another friend saw an old destitute lady, patient of cholera, lying unattended on the street of Benares, practically half dead in very pathetic condition. It was near the Vishwanath temple. Both of them nursed that old patient. That was the beginning of the activity of the Ramakrishna mission. Jivogyanes Shivoseva. Shivogyanes Jivoseva. So the old patient initially on the street and later brought her to a local dispensary, admitted there and arranged for all her medicines and food by begging from different quarters. Just believe that was the beginning of a great venture. Afterwards, they took on rental basis one room at Ramapura area at 4 rupees, at rupees 5 per month, and started a mini hospital. That is a big hospital now on the condition, on the basis of the practical Vedanta, which Ramakrishna preached and Swamiji preached. That was called Poor Men's Relief Association. Later, this name was changed by Vivekananda himself. Today, it is one of the most modern hospitals of Uttar Pradesh, and this is the Ramakrishna Mission Home of Service. So you see how abstract Vedantic ideas can be transformed into real life of humanism, real life humanism. The pioneer of this welfare work was later became a monk actually. Several such examples are there in medical, educational and rural development sector. We'll appreciate that one becomes loving. This universal love, what is called Vedanta, universal love, not love to my family members, wife and children only, but to everybody, This is actually Vedanta. And everybody unselfish and puts in interest at the last of following Vedantic ideals. His prayer is always for the good and well-being of others. As the future ideal society, according to Neo Vedanta, will be on one in which we will recognize ourselves, you and me both, as the children of the divine and destined to worship in its manifold form. It is called Tattvamoshi. Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamoshi. I am also Brahman, you are also Brahman. There is no difference. And Vivekananda, New Vedanta, which of course basically supports Shankara Vedanta as the final theory, proudly says, I do not believe in a religion which cannot wipe the widow's tears or bring a piece of bread to the orphan's mouth. Swamiji used to say, this is the thing. So, Swamiji gave a great formula sutra, Atmano Mokshartham Jagothitaya Cha, which is the famous sutra of the Ramakrishna order. Not only the motto of the Ramakrishna order, but also gives the clear guidelines to an individual to lead an ideal and fulfilled life. It can be universal motto for all enlightened people all over the world. One of the main problems of moral life is that the basic moral principles that people try to follow are not based on strong metaphysical supports and therefore lack ultimate effectiveness. In India, for a long time, philosophy and morality remained as two distinct areas, independent of each other. Acharya Shankar regarded Advaita as beyond ethics. It was Swami Vivekananda for the first time attempted to establish morality on the basis of non-dual ultimate reality, Brahman. He said, my idea is to show that the highest ideal of morality and unselfishness goes hand in hand with the highest metaphysical condition. For him, the basis of morality is unalloyed spirituality. Very important thing. The basis of morality is unalloyed spirituality. He answered very scientifically 2 questions. Number 1, why should we be moral? Why we should be moral? And why should we do good to others? This is a very fundamental question. Why you should be moral? Why you should do good to others? The first question is very crucial. I'm quoting from an article of a senior monk of the Ramakrishna order, of the Ramakrishna. Why should not a business? So he is putting like that. Why should not a businessman or a government officer or a policeman or an engineer earn more money by dishonest means? Why should not a person cheat or earn more? Why should not a student copy the answer papers? The usual answer is that we have to be moral, otherwise we will have to face the police people. Swamiji's Vedantic answer is entirely different. When he says that each soul is potentially divine, he gives the real answer. According to him, the Atman is the true nature of man. That is the source of all knowledge, all joy, all power, all love, which we seek in life. Morality is nothing but a manifestation of the inherent potential divinity through our thought processes and all our physical actions. That means to be moral, to be righteous and good is our natural state and birthright. On the other hand, to be immoral is an unnatural state. Unnatural state. Very interesting. Swamiji said, to be immoral is an unnatural state. To be moral is a natural state. So New Vedanta, which Swamiji speaks, New Vedanta must influence every action of an individual. As the whole outlook is changed, interpersonal relationships also change. You smile at everyone, knowing that the same divine is residing in every heart. Very interesting. This idea is found in Ishopanishad. Ishopanishad, one of the first Upanishads, one of these 11 Upanishads, 10 Upanishads, on which Shankara wrote his commentary, and the 11th also is there. So what he says, they're telling Ishavashram idam sarvam jatkincha jagattam jagat teno taktena bhunjita magridha kasha siddhanam. The whole universe is filled with the Spirit of God. The whole universe is filled. Hence, enjoy the pleasure in a detached manner. Do not be greedy. Do not be greedy. The wealth does not belong to anybody. Today's problem, you see, how many crores of rupees are amassed by politicians and all that. They are Indians, and in India only, Vedanta was preached. Swami Vivekananda preached this idea. This idea may be said to be the foundation of all positive philosophies of the world. Another point I should mention, that is the role of women in this total human development process. Practical Vedanta, of course I'm digressing from everything. Swamiji attached too much importance on the role of the women. Previously, women were neglected in India everywhere. Down, they were actually downtrodden. So, at importance, a woman as a mother can develop noble and cultural citizens for the nation. She can elevate the children, her children, right from their very childhood, by molding their character. Vivekananda once said very beautifully, teach yourselves, teach everyone his real nature, all upon the sleeping Leviathan. Swamiji appealed to everybody that your nature is divine, there is tremendous power inside you, and see how it awakes. Power will come, he said. Power will come, glory will come, goodness will come, and everything that is excellent will come when the sleeping soul is roused to self-conscious activity. Swamiji's only message was that, like this. So our individual souls are potentially divine, and our goal is to manifest that divinity within by controlling our nature. We have come practically to an end. To the end, I will now give you some real life examples. One just real life examples. You see, the main thing is that why we started with Hastie. Hastie introduced Narendranath to Sri Ramakrishna, and Sri Ramakrishna, great philosophy, Shibogane Jiva Seva. Shibogane Jiva Seva inspired Vivekananda to such an extent that he founded an institution, Ramakrishna Order, which has now nearly 300 centers all over the world, preaching great Vedantic philosophy on the basis of practical Vedanta. Everywhere the same thing. So this Swamiji's other Guru Bhais, you know that 16 direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. So some of them could not understand this initially. They used to tell Swami Vivekananda, you are not preaching Sri Ramakrishna in the proper way. Swamiji was furious. Swamiji said, what? Sri Ramakrishna himself has taught me like this. Sri Ramakrishna himself has taught me to preach like this. How can you say like that? So I'm just coming to the end actually. So I'm telling you to see what is the condition today. We have practically come to, and I will now give you some real life examples, one or two, to the present state of affairs and why Vedanta Vedantic teachings are absolutely necessary at this moment. One, according to one recent World Bank report, only 36% of the total financial aid given to India ever get utilized. 36%, the rest amount of 64% is taken by the politicians. For the former Prime Minister of India once said painfully, out of every rupee that the government allotted for service to the poor, only 16 paisa ever reached the poor. These are gross violations of all human values due to rampant corruption everywhere. Rampant corruption. So, and another point, I will end with this another point. Results of a survey conducted by Hindustan Times and C4 some time back. This survey was conducted among the working professionals across different sectors and salary brackets in India to assess paid work culture and ethics. This is very interesting and points out to the human degradation in the Indian society. Human degradation, we can see every day if you open the newspaper, we find this minister has taken so many crores, this minister has taken so many crores. It is shameful also. We have taken some points from the head of values. Say nearly 45% people are comfortable logging incorrect in at times in the office. In the office, we have this entering time and departure time. So they have studied, 45% people have said, yes, what we are doing is correct. Though I am supposed to enter the office at 9:30, I am arriving at 10:30 but writing 9:30. 45% is said, yes, there's nothing wrong in that. Nearly 60% people lie unabashed while applying for leave. So leave is a thing that we should take leave when it is absolutely necessary. Some people just say take like it is that, and nearly 60% people say nothing wrong if I give a wrong reason. So actually cheating, so actually untruth. Nearly 62% people consider bribing normal and ethical. Bribing, nothing wrong in bribing, people say. 62% people say. Bribing, yes, absolutely none. My work is done, I am paying 100 rupees, 200 rupees to the clerk. Around 63% respondents are okay with doing personal work during office hours. In office hours, in government offices, if you, the other day I went to the West Bengal State Electricity Board office. Nobody is there in the office during the time. They have gone here and there. Somebody has gone for market. Here and there, some ladies are weaving sweaters. So work, all the files are open. So no work is there. And around 63%. This is the actually a survey made by World Bank about India. About 61% workers feel that it is fine to take printouts and photocopies at office for personal work. And lastly, an average of 30%, an average of 38% feel justified to waste time in office. Nothing wrong in wasting time in office. So I won't quote them because they are more painful. There are so many other things. So we are still far away from an ideal state of mind when moral and ethical values play a national vital role. Here, Vedantic ideas would be very fruitful if brought into picture in a proper way. Neo Vedanta gives emphasis on three things among many. One is punctuality. One is punctuality, two, efficiency in every work, and three, telling the truth always. These 3 points. Neo Vedanta, which Swami Vivekananda preached, they give importance, emphasis on these 3 things. One is punctuality. Punctuality of going to office, punctuality in coming out of the office, everywhere punctuality. And efficiency in every work. We have to show efficiency in every work and telling the truth always. Or Sri Ramakrishna used to say, telling the truth always. Dharma starts from here. মিথ্যা কথা না বলা। আমরা শুনেছি ছোট থেকে বইতে বলা হয়েছে যে সত্য কথা বলো, কিন্তু আমরা কেউই বলি না। So Swami Ranganathananda, who was a president of the Ramakrishna order, used to say, the more truth tellers there are in the world, the more humanity will transform consciously in happy accord with the divine plan. Beautifully. So we'll have to manifest our divinity in every movement of life. So this is the thing, more or less I have come to the end. The third glaring example of moral degradation of government employees has been published very recently national daily. I won't mention the state. Money meant for cultivators under the Prime Minister's Kishan Samman Nidhi was credited by mistake to the accounts of hundreds of government employees. Just imagine, it was meant for the cultivators, it was credited to the account of the hundreds of government employees. They were responsible government servants, some of them pensioners, also regularly income taxpayers. But they're taking that money. They're taking that money. No morality, nothing. Later, it was found that this was created on the basis of self-declaration only. They gave self-declaration. Only when government came to know this embezzlement and threatened to take strict disciplinary actions against these errant people, they went to a hurry mode for return the money. This is unalloyed adharma, and the children will also learn from it. Now they are giving different alleyways. No responsible citizen will do like that. So we have in India, we have come to a very low level of morality. We can find most of the
Hello? Hello?
শোনা যাচ্ছে না না?
Hello, sir.
Sir?
are taking most of the things they're taking bribes. So, hello, can you hear?
Yes, continue.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Can you hear?
Continue. Yes, continue.
No, I just another 2-3 minutes. I will narrate another example about the way how the student community of a country behaves in the absence of proper moral guidance. Vedantic ideas which are purely universal are never taught in schools, colleges, and universities of this country. In the name of secularism, we will find nowhere the schools and colleges and universities these ideas, these great Indian ideas of Vedanta are taught, where the structure. This story I heard in a lecture of Swami Ranganathananda, I'm telling you. In the absence of any teaching that will come from sound characters, student communities are totally aimless. They are adults with voting rights after 18, but no character formation has taken place or social sense of responsibility has developed in them. Swami Ranganathananda, who was a great teacher, was once requested to address the student community of a college in Sonipat of Haryana. The principal had informed him beforehand that many students would come from Delhi, but most of them would not buy any railway tickets. Railway tickets. To them, it is very natural not to buy railway tickets. He further said, the principal, that if he and his colleagues would point out this misdemeanor, they would be beaten openly. If the যদি প্রিন্সিপাল এবং শিক্ষকরা বলেন ছাত্রদের তোমরা টিকিট কেটে ট্রেনে এসো, ওদের খুব মারে. So this is a very recent thing actually. So Swami Ranganathananda, being a fearless monk, scolded the students openly in the lecture hall for their shameful behavior and reminded them that they were citizens of a free country and must not act in this selfish and irresponsible manner. That is not a Vedantic approach by which we try to cheat others. Very important. That is not a Vedantic approach by which we try to cheat others. Our freedom and dignity as a spirit or Atman is not reflected in this case in our behavior as a citizen. So this is the thing. So my point is that this practical Vedanta, what Swamiji spoke actually Hastie, how I'm trying to link it, maybe I'm digressing here to there. So Hastie actually introduced Vivekananda to Sri Ramakrishna, and Vivekananda is the first man in India who preached practical Vedanta. He said that everybody is Atman. You'll have to glorify that theory everywhere that Brahmote Kit Paravanu Sarvabhute Shei Brahmamoy. That is great theory. Nowadays we find even in the United Nations, Swamiji's this thing has been accepted not in the same language but in other way. I heard the other day from Vikas Sannal, one man who was our representative at UNESCO in Paris. He said that Swamiji's ideas have been taken in the UNESCO, this thing, Shivo Gyane Jivo Seva. So, okay, good night. I have said something. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Modak,
you,
for
sir.
giving me. Hmm. Okay,
Thank you
right. Good, good
for
night.
your
Good night.
informative declaration, and moreover that life of Hastie is most important. But this practical Vedanta, who has
Hmm.
introduced him, that Narendranath, to Sri
Hmm.
Ramakrishna, and
Hmm.
from there he conceived the idea of practical
Hmm.
Vedanta, which is
Yes,
most important in our
yes, yes,
present day.
yes,
So
yes.
thank you for this information, and we are really grateful from our academy. I will just invite Mr. Modak to
No, okay,
pay.
okay. So I couldn't because of my some problems. I could not speak properly. So
No, no,
whatever,
that's absolutely right. No problem, sir.
whatever.
Okay.
Each and every word was distinct. So
Hmm.
wonderful lecture.
So
No,
more,
no.
most important is man making. Most important is man making. Ranganath used to say man making. Where is man making in
Yes,
India? No education, nothing. Ramakrishna order is trying to do something, but where is there? In their schools and colleges, they are trying. They have university, but hardly 1%, 2% effort. Okay, Doctor.